You couldn't script this really, could you? I mean, only a marketing and a PR agency could make such a massive faux pas.
Coffee maker Nespresso wages war on us landlords. In this video, we're telling Nespresso to wake up and smell the coffee.
But before we go too far with that, Ranjan, let me just share with you the Baker Street Property Meet, where Ranjan and I host the UK's most successful property networking event with 300 plus landlords every month.
Our guest speakers are fantastic. It's top-notch networking in central London. Tickets sell out very, very fast. BakerStreetPropertyMeet.com to find out about this month's event. Now, we are going to be launching a little bit of a campaign here now against Nespresso. Now, I do not understand the logic of this. I mean, there seems to be this anti-landlord rhetoric that's sweeping across the nation, in that all landlords, and essentially all we're doing is providing homes for people, that all landlords are bad. And Nespresso has jumped on the bandwagon. Just have a look at two of these ads we're going to put up on screen now, which have featured on the London Underground. Now this one says, "Our pods disappear faster than your landlord when there's a leak." Really, really funny that one is. And then there's this one that featured on London Underground's advertising. "Our pods disappear faster than your landlord when the mice move in." What about all of this, Andrew?
Well, the first thing I'd say is if you tasted that coffee, it's rank.
And, you know, what I want to get at here is a couple of things. Firstly, I've talked about this, you know, there's a lot of anti-landlord rhetoric here. But Isn't this the case of the pot calling the kettle black?
Well, I think if you stood in a greenhouse, you shouldn't be throwing stones. And I think looking at this and why they've done it, they've basically identified, based on Google Trends and keyword searches, that they can jump on a bandwagon and try and get some marketing press from this and attract a particular demographic of audience. But the problem is, if you stood in that greenhouse, don't throw stones.
Well, let's have a look at Nespresso's record, in particular their human rights record. I'm just putting up on screen something from the Fair World project. Now, they rate corporations around the world according to their human rights record, and they've rated it a B, Nespresso a B, and that is for child labour, wage theft, and abuse of factory workers. Now, the child labour claims actually caused George Clooney, no less, to issue a statement which was reported in The Guardian, saying he was saddened by the allegations of child labour being used on Nespresso coffee farms. Well, well, well. Who are the nasty ones now?
I was going to say, personally, I think there should be a boycott on Nespresso. If you think there should be a boycott, comment below.
And what should you be drinking instead? Well, I suggest tea. None other than proper tea. That's what's in our mugs.
Cheers, mate.
So boycott Nespresso if you're a landlord and go for some proper tea. But it is quite amazing, really, the double standards that's going on. I mean, there was a Channel 4 documentary. Nespresso were found in their Guatemalan farms to be employing child labour.
I mean, you couldn't script this really, could you? I mean, only a marketing and a PR agency could make such a massive faux pas to try and pick on a group of people that they perceive to be doing worse than they are. Yet, as far as I know, landlords comply with laws. We have additional legislation that we're continually complying with, and we pay our taxes. Oh, and we don't rob our tenants.
And, you know, it's very interesting that Nespresso, for example, have basically taken a product that people buy. You buy a jar of coffee and you make your coffee at home. But what they've tried to do is apply a rental model. and almost a landlord-tenant type model to coffee making, with a rental of £25 a month.
An expensive rental model, if you ask me, and one that's not very environmentally friendly.
Well, of course, on expense, of course, when you work out the weight of coffee in one of those little capsules, and then compare that with the cost of buying the granules separately, it's a rip-off. But there's the energy, there's the environmental impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the environmental impact with all of this single-use pods is absolutely flipping ridiculous. Now, I actually find it quite interesting, and here's a comparable and a statistic that you may not know. It costs more to run a Bic biro than it does to drive your car for a mile. The point being, drawing a single line for a mile in the ground, you will use more than the petrol you use in your car.
And I think what we need is, and I'd like you to comment below, see whether you can come up with anything better, but I think we need a new advertising campaign in the London Underground, not this sort of nonsense that Nespresso's coming up with. I'm thinking of a slogan like, landlords, forget about coffee, enjoy proper tea.
Whee!
Can you come up with a better slogan that you would put on the Underground rather than this rubbish that Nespresso are dishing out? What do you think about the wider vilification of landlords? I mean, it used to be that, I don't know, estate agents were the #1 hated profession in the UK. Then after 2008, it's become bankers. Do you think it's landlords now?
Well, it seems to be a toxic industry to be operating in on the basis that everybody seems to hate you. I think it's time for car dealers to take over again.
Well, I think the Nespresso CEO should replace that title for sanctioning or actually having all this go on under his watch. Yeah. So, how many landlords are there in the UK that have been accused of human rights violations? This Nespresso organisation is accusing us or implying that we ain't that good, where themselves they have been found, reported in Reuters, exposed on a Channel 4 documentary to be having human rights violations go on under their watch.
So if you want to do property properly, join us at the Baker Street Property Meet every single month, where Ranjan and I and our panel of expert speakers will help you keep your business at the top of its property game, and you will be compliant and avoiding any human rights issues.
And we have 300 plus property investors turn up to each Baker Street Property Meet. There's a bar at the back of the room. You'll be able to get all sorts of drinks, but no Nespresso. The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street, we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.